Hi, my name's Matt Locke, and this is the Everyday Athlete Podcast, the podcast for the everyday athletes around the world who refuse to be average and who want to create a legacy of health, fitness, and achievement in every aspect of their life. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it's time to forge your future. Cleveland Hughes, welcome back to the Everyday Athletes Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you back, and looking forward to diving into talking about the Healing Mitts intentional boxing training system. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it's really great to be back. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, we don't need to pretend here that this is a different day or anything at all. We recorded the first session.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Occasionally I get a guest from me just go, oh, do you want me to move so the background's different or change my docs? Like, no, it's all good. We're just trying to make the episode lengths consumable, let's say, digestible. But
Got it.
But for those who haven't listened to the first interview that we had with Cleveland, I would certainly encourage you to do so, where we talked about a bit of your backstory and also then how you got into boxing and what boxing has done for you and for your life. And what we're going to do in this episode is talk about how you're paying that forward and trying to share the same experience and have positive impact in other people's lives through something you've created called the Healing Mitts intentional boxing training system. So with that said, what is that? What intentional boxing? Let's talk about that first. What intentional boxing? I love that phrase, by the way. Talk us through.
Well, we just focus the intention on the therapeutic effects of boxing. That's basically what it is, because the thing that I started, I've recently become a full-time boxing coach. I lived in California before. And when I moved to Chicago area, I said that I'm not going to just do like the normal, like functional fitness training anymore. I want to be full-time passion work. I want to work full-time as a boxing coach. And when there was a mindset shift that had to happen for myself. So I asked my clients, well, the people that were coming to give me money to do boxing training with, I asked them why they were coming to see me. And 95% of them said something like, oh man, I was in a domestic violence relationship and I wanted to take my power back, or everyone in my family is alcoholics and I want to make something better of myself. Some people straight up said, I do this for therapy, it's cheaper than the shrink. And so that's where the intention came from. This is the intention that people were going into the sport for, and they needed to release stress, anxiety, depression, and build their confidence and such. So, I had to come up with a recipe to give them what they wanted.
Yeah, I love that you took that on board and created something with it. But there's a CrossFit athlete from Australia who's again very successful, Khan Porter, and his company is called Sweat Therapy. And he's a huge advocate around Are You Okay, which down in Australia is a suicide prevention or suicide awareness organization. And Khan's been very open about his challenges with mental health throughout his life. He's a huge advocate for that, which we appreciate him for. And but the fact that he called his company Sweat Therapy is perfect, because I think for so many of us, regardless of which our chosen sport is or the form of training is, I think for many of us, it really is some form of therapy at the end of the day. And of course, the physiological realities of the endorphins and all of that good stuff, for sure. I mean, we know that, we understand that. But yeah, the mental health benefits of it, in addition to that, are super, super powerful. So you created Healing Mitts, the Healing Mitts system, which again is a very clever name. Love it. Because here we're talking about boxing mitts. Having created that, what are the sort of core components of it? So if I was to come to you today and say, I'm really interested to go through this with you, once you dug into my why and really helped me understand what my real motivation is, what does the Healing Mitts system actually look like?
Well, I mean, it's based off 4 principles, and the 4 principles are the things that I thought were what made boxing training therapeutic. and it's a mixture of different things. And all of the components are important. So if I were, if I had a new person in the gym, we would start with the first principle. And the first principle is what we call the art of relaxed intensity. And what tends to happen is when people come to me, for the most part, they're dealing with some sort of depression, anxiety, or stress, and it shows up in their ability to relax. You know what I mean? So trying to put somebody into a boxing stance, you'll know, like what I notice a lot is my clients, they have like almost like a nervous energy about them, and they kind of move themselves all over the place, and they kind of shake and they bounce around, and they add a bunch of extra movements that shouldn't be there. And so I coached them on how to like put their heels on the ground, be in the moment and just stand there. And I tell my clients, do absolutely nothing until you're doing something. That's it. Stand there with your hands up, do nothing else. And when it's time for us to do the next part, once you're able to get past this principle, then we'll start working on something else. And so basically that's the way I would go. I'd go through the principles, and we go through all 4 principles in every training session. Not saying that everyone's able to master them in a training session. It takes lots of time. And even at the point of mastery, you should still continue to practice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, just to be really clear, the 4 principles are?
The first one is the art of relaxed intensity.
Yep.
The second one is active concentration. The third one is champion's breath. And the fourth one is technical focus.
Sure. And
so each one has and some of them overlap, but the idea is that if you can do one of these things, it's going to make improvements in your life inside and out the gym. If you can learn to use all 4 of these tools, you'll be like a Jedi, like you'll have all the mind tricks that you need and all the tools that you need to bring yourself to a point where you can make sound decisions in stressful situations.
Absolutely. So the first, art of relaxed intensity, was what you just talked us through, right? So then active concentration.
Yes. Active concentration is about using your instincts, right? It's about using your concentration versus using your instincts. So in a situation, in a self-defense situation, instinctually, we might do something that's not necessarily like a trained response. You need to have the correct tools to defend yourself in a self-defense situation or in a boxing situation. So what I teach is I teach people to not just have a random reaction, more so to have a more trained response to different kinds of situations, basically. And like I said, these are the principles that I think really help people in their everyday lives. And this one is really great for relationships. If you're reacting to someone else's energy blindly, you might ruin a relationship that way. But if you have a trained response, like you have a trained response in a boxing situation, you're probably going to come out of the situation a whole lot better off than you did if you just kind of reacted and just let whatever come out of your mouth.
Yeah, sure. So I guess not only at home, but at work as well, huh? In any interaction.
Yeah, home, work,
yep,
and human interaction. And I think that it's really important to our mental health that we find healthy ways to interact with other humans. And it's actually a part of us to be connected to other people, and it makes us feel really, really good about ourselves and our lives when we have good connections with other people.
Absolutely. One of the observations that I'm not alone, I'm sure, but nonetheless, I'll speak for me. One of the observations I make is, when we train at this end, let's say we go and train each morning, and it's definitely got a community feel to it. There's a group of us, they're regulars, I'd say we're friends. We don't necessarily socialize a lot outside of that environment, but it's a real close-knit sort of community feel. There's a connection, and we sweat together, we suffer together, we smile together, and that really does forge and form some incredible bonds, which, when I then think back in a business setting, a business environment, it's very hard to reproduce that same depth of relationship, the same depth of the bonds that are formed when you train together. Again, you sweat together, you suffer together, you smile together. There's something special happens in that environment, and I think it stems from a sense of vulnerability, because none of us are looking our best when we're in that environment.
Yes.
It's mostly the case. I can certainly speak for me, where I'm certainly not the best, athlete in the gym at that moment. So I'm not lifting the highest weights. I don't have the best technique. I don't anything. In fact, there's a vulnerability with that, and I'm comfortable with it. No problem. But I think that's a key component of why, in a sporting environment or a fitness environment, we can create those relationships and that culture at the end of the day, but where it's much harder to do outside of that setting. And it's the same people, right? When we go to work, when we leave the gym, we shower, we go to work, we're the same people, but somehow I think we often behave differently in a business setting.
Yeah.
And I think the more we can help
true.
that, and it sounds like you're certainly making it, the active concentration, choose to respond, not react, I just read on your webpage. And it's right though, isn't it? But imagine in a work environment, if we, chose to respond and not react, how much better that moment would be, that relationship would be, and ultimately that's can lead to culture change, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if everybody was mindful, that would really change the way everything happens.
Yeah.
It would probably be the single most powerful thing that ever happened to humanity if everyone became mindful.
Absolutely. It would change societies as we know them, for sure it would. So the third step is the champion's breath. And you say, control your breathing, control your fight. So talk us, that sounds logical, but talk us through, because I suspect there's more depth to that.
Yeah, I mean, the nervous system is kind of, it's controlled by all these automatic mechanisms, and we don't seem to have very much control over the automatic mechanisms except for the breath. If you fall asleep at night, you don't have to think about your breathing, correct?
Sure.
The autonomic nervous system is going to take care of you. But in stressful situations, we have a tendency to breathe shallow, like we don't take as deep breaths. Our breaths actually get shorter. Our heart rate increases, our muscles tighten, and we're no longer relaxed. Even if it could be a phone call, it could be somebody honking the horn at you on the highway. It could be a stressful situation. It could be anything, but our nervous system responds and then our breath changes. But the coolest thing about champion's breath is it's just more mindfulness. It's mindful breathing. And if you can slow your breath rate down and take deep diaphragmatic breaths, you can change your whole brain chemistry around what's happening in front of you. And you can, like I said, you can make more sound decisions. And in a boxing situation, somebody's hitting you and they're really strong, and you're starting to breathe really fast and you don't want to fatigue. So you have to take those slow, deep breaths to get yourself back focused so you can stay in the fight. And why can't that translate to your everyday life when something isn't going your way and you feel that? Because you can feel that tightness in your chest, and you can feel your heart rate starting going up. You can feel yourself begin to sweat. Why not tap in to the most powerful thing that we have, our breath? Take a deep diaphragmatic breath. And champion's breath is a breath rate lower, six breaths per minute or lower, which would be about 10-second breaths. It'll bring your feet right back underneath you.
I love that thing. It's funny you mentioned 10 seconds. What I was thinking whilst you were saying that was, I remember a technique, my father was a dental surgeon, he's retired now, but 6 million years ago when he qualified as a dental surgeon, sorry, Dad, if you're listening, he they taught hypnotherapy as part of the dental college training. They don't do that anymore, which is sad. And he's used it he did use it many times over the course of his 6 million years as a dental surgeon. But I remember he used it once with me as a relaxation technique. And it was 10 seconds. The way he, after a little bit of training with me in a couple of sessions of hypnotizing me, if I can feel myself getting wound up now, even now, and he didn't really implant it for this, but all I do is I close my eyes, take a deep breath, breathing through the nose, and I hold that and count to 10 in my mind, and then quickly exhale. So it's 10 seconds, and then quickly exhale. And it's amazing how relaxed you can, as you exhale, long exhale, and you just feel the whole body relax. And as you say, get your feet underneath you, your feet on, you feel your feet on the ground, or you feel yourself sitting on the chair, whatever it is. That's interesting that, you also are working with that 10-second guideline, I guess. But I can certainly relate to it. And if anyone's listening who thinks this is all a bit woo-woo, tree hugger nonsense, give it a go. Give it a go.
Seriously.
So breathe in through, take a long, deep breath through your nose, hold it, count to 10, and exhale through your mouth quite quickly. And I mean, obviously you're saying do that for a minute, or at least on the cycle of 6 a minute. So, but even just once for the naysayers who may be listening to this or watching this. But very good. So then the fourth step we have is technical focus. Talk us through technical focus.
Okay, and so this one is basically what you would get if you go to any boxing gym. Any boxing gym that has good coaches, they will teach you boxing technique. And what is very, very important, what's really apparent is that there's a lot of things that you need to do when throwing a punch. You need to breathe out. You need to have your knees bent. You need to have your hands up. You have to have your core engaged. Your elbows need to be close together. Your hands need to be, above your chin. Your eye, you need to be looking up at someone. There's a long list, a list too long for anybody to wrap their mind around, right? So what happens is if you're trying to do all those things at once, you have no choice but to be in the moment. It is not possible for you to throw a proper boxing punch in boxing properly while thinking about what you need to accomplish at another time.
Sure.
And so that's where it all comes together. And that's why it's the last principle, because I need you to do all four of these principles, you know what I mean? And need you to do them simultaneously. And now there's no other option but for you to be in the moment and just live and be here and just breathe and enjoy this moment.
Yeah, fantastic. And I'm guessing you're seeing some awesome results with clients of yours who are going through or are part of the Healing Mix community.
Yes. It is so interesting to me, the kinds of people that I'm helping. And at first it started off, like I was working with people that were stressed and anxious. And now I'm working with some women. I have a few women clients that are expecting children, and they really find a huge benefit in the breathing techniques because they're getting ready to give birth to a child. And a lot of that is, pain management and controlling your breathing. And so, they're seeing benefits and they're excited, and they think that they're going to be able to make these things, they're going to be able to apply these things when they're giving birth to a child. And I'm just, and I'm just ecstatic, it's helping people in ways that I didn't even imagine,
Which is amazing. So I'm visualizing them learning how to punch their partner best in that moment when they're suffering through childbirth.
Like, you did this to me, bam.
No, but it's interesting having had you take us through it all, and certainly in the previous chat that we had, the fact that it's a much more relaxed, and it sounds almost hypnotic state that you have to be in to be boxing or training well in that environment. You talk about relaxed intensity. You talk about, active concentration, which is mindfulness, really focusing on that. And yes, the champion's breath. And really what you're doing, you're talking about changing state, right? All of this is changing your state.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the technical focus. So I can understand much better now. Had you said originally at the beginning of the conversation, we've got some pregnant women who are signing up and are getting benefit from it, I would perhaps have thought, is that the right
Yeah.
environment for someone who's pregnant? But clearly that's an ignorant question. So I appreciate that you've come on to help share, I guess, a different perspective and help people understand more about what it's actually about. And in particular, healing myths, of course, with how you're applying what you've learned and your experiences and trying to, I guess, pay that forward for others who just need or want, to enjoy the same benefits that you've had and continue to get from it, which is amazing. Again, conscious of time, Cleveland, is there anything more about healing myths that you'd like to share with us that I've neglected? Or have we pretty much covered off what it's all about, other than how can people find out more about it if they want to?
Yeah, we covered it all. It's really what you said. It's about managing state, and like I said before, the better you get at managing your state, the better your life is going to be. So, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because I want to help people have better lives. Because I don't know what the life expectancy is in Australia, but and here in the United States, it's like 76 years for men, and I think 80 years for women. And that's your best case scenario. So while you're here, why not be in control and have the best life that you possibly can? And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm passionate about life, and I just want to help more people.
Well, I certainly appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing, as I appreciate you coming on to share your journey and expertise on the podcast. If people want to reach out and connect with you or find out more about what you're doing, where would they go?
Just go over to Instagram and follow me. It's clevelandh.fitness, like the city in Ohio, Cleveland H.fitness. And then if you want to learn more about the program and you want to see what it is that I'm doing, just go to www.healingmyths.org.
Fantastic. And of course, we'll put those links in the show notes for sure. And I'd also like to thank you for being one of the planet's good people. And I'm glad that you have found a vehicle that's helped you improve yourself, improve your situation, and now pay forward and improve other people's lives. So on behalf of everyone involved, thank you very much. And I've really enjoyed chatting with you, Cleveland. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, there you have it. Thanks very much for listening. And if you've enjoyed this, please go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell icon so you get notified every time we upload a new episode. And if you think that one of your training buddies would also enjoy this, go ahead and share it with them right now. With that said, thank you once again. And as always, be brave, have fun, and lead by example.